Hey folks, today we're going to be doing a rundown of all the spells and the weapons in the game. I've managed to get descriptions of all the spells currently available, however, I haven't managed to use them all yet. Because I want to keep this short, I'm just going to put the screenshots up on the screen, talk a little bit about the spell while you guys can read it, and then at the end I'll give a big blanket opinion. Now the devs have spoke to me and they have said they're doing a spell rebalancing, so some of my opinions in the next week may be completely different. With that said, let's just get started. First up we have Mana Blast. Now this is one of the spells that can be used on all weapon types. It does a decent amount of damage and it's super short range. It's available from the very get-go, so it can be used with any weapon at the beginning and is not half bad at all. Next up we have Lightning Bolt. Now this is more of a medium range attack. It's available at level 10 and costs 4 points, and honestly right now it's a little bit of wasting points because it doesn't do as much damage as I feel it should, but we'll see if that changes with the spell rebalancing. Now on to protective spells, we've got Haste. Now Haste just makes you super fast. It's really useful for PvE, for PvP, just travelling around. Get it at level 5 for 3 points or be incredibly disappointed. Mana Shield. Now this just absorbs damage as long as you have a mana pool, including damage from environmental effects like acid pools. I haven't tested it with full damage, but I really want to try it. It's available at level 10 for 3 points, and if you like tanking damage for your friends, as currently minions don't change aggro, then that might be a good option for you. Blue Aura. Now spawn a blue aura of regeneration. Now that's pretty simple. I didn't get to see it in use as this wasn't one of the spells I chose when I got to level 20, but I can see how in a party it would be really useful. Next up is Gaslight. So I didn't get to see this one either because I didn't even hit level 30. But from what it sounds like they need some more CC into the game currently, and this seems like the right direction. Next up we have utility spells. Now Extract is the most important spell in the game if you ever want to gather resources or build anything, which you probably do because you're playing a sandbox RPG. It makes life infinitely easier. The only other way to get materials is to forage them off the ground, and honestly that's just time consuming and boring, whereas this just makes it so much easier. Get this at level 5 or struggle. Pacify. Now a lot of people, including myself, are really excited about taming, however in its current state it's a little bit odd. Don't want to say unbalanced, I'd say it's a little bit odd. You can tame anything regardless of level, however because the AI is really poor they're useless more often than not. So they only tame for 30 minutes, however you can put soul binding scrolls that can be crafted from level 15 onwards that increase the amount of time. So you can have a creature indefinitely. When I played during the beta, there weren't mounts available because saddles couldn't be crafted, so I'm really excited to try that out in the next one. Next up we've got Heal Beam. Now, Heal Beam, as complicated as it may sound, is a beam that heals. Don't really know what else to say about that. After that we have Telekinesis, which, as everyone who has ever watched any one of my videos will know, I'm super excited to try Telekinesis. I want to throw a castle at someone so bad it makes me hurt. However, I do really hope there's some kind of protection against it, because having your creations just torn out of the ground and thrown at you is gonna absolutely make some people rage quit, and if that's the thing, I don't think the game will last very long. It's crucial they address that. Now we're on to staff weapons. Now staffs were used a lot during the beta, and I believe that's because they had high damage, good range, increased your mana pool, and an AoE. They were meant to be the support type weapon, and I don't really feel like they fell into that category at all, so I'm really hoping that's addressed. First spell is Fireball. It's pretty much as you'd expect. Fires a fireball, does AoE damage, makes a really loud noise, but currently can be massively spammed, and I'm hoping that gets changed. Shadow Blast. I didn't use this as I didn't use a staff, but I had a friend who did, and he said he wasn't massively fond on it. It knocks back enemies, which makes it just harder to hit with your AoE. Maybe it should be used more in a defensive role. Next up we have Lightning Storm. Now Lightning Storm sounds really cool, but I never got to see it in action, so there's really not much I can talk about. However, if it's anything like the other AoE spells, I don't think the range is going to be that great. It's available at level 30 for 5 points. Beam of Light. This sounds very similar to Heal Beam, apart from it does damage as well, and because it's at a higher level, I'm going to presume it's going to do more damage and more healing. So this is where I can really see the staff shining, with its damage and healing very much into a support kind of role. This one fits the staff perfectly. Divine Orb. Now this is really what I envisioned when I think late game spell. It sounds amazing. If you just read the description, I'm so excited to see this in action, and I can't wait. Next up we have wands. Now I had a little bit of a play around with wands, but they were far from my main focus of the beta. They were really good fun. They felt like they were in the right place. They're not quite hit scan DPS, but very similar. So if you've ever played any first person shooters, wands might be the ones for you. They've got decent utility and pretty good damage. Their first spell they get is Arcane Missile. Arcane Missile is similar to hit scan or has a very fast projectile range. It does decent damage and it can be charged to do more. Next up is Ice Bolt. Ice Bolt was probably one of the favourite spells I got to play around with. Having a form of soft or hard CC depending on luck is quite nice. It's also useful in a PvP situation. If you hit someone with Ice Bolt, it's so easy to follow up with them with a melee attack, which will probably kill them in one hit. Blink. Now Blink sounds perfect for what I envision a wand user to be, which is kind of a sneaky rogue type of mage, and I can't wait to see Blink in action. Small little teleport spell sounds great. Next up is Blood Boil. Now if you just read the description, this spell sounds really nasty. It's available at level 45 for 6 points. Now for any wand user that wants to go with quick hit and run attacks, damage over time is going to be really helpful. I think this is a great direction for the wand class. So Kiss of Death, the end game spell for the wand user. It's available at level 60, it costs 8 points. The description makes it sound absolutely terrifying, and I'm really curious whether it's going to be a lock-on effect or not. We'll see. On to my personal favourite, Melee. Now, one of the reasons I love Melee is because of the percentage damage on a lot of the Omni weapon spells. So they work much better with the melee weapons than they do with a lot of others. So first up we have Terrene Smash. Now this spell is my bread and butter. I used it purely for leveling and it does a huge amount of damage. It knockbacks multiple opponents. It's just super strong. Next up is Bloodlust. This boosts your damage. However, I think it's also meant to hurt your health, but it doesn't do that as of current. I don't know whether that's just in the description or whether it's going to be added, as it also has a health cost, which I think would be cool because currently it does a ridiculous amount of damage. All it does is boost your current damage, but you hit so hard. I was hitting for up to 900 on a crit when I was using Bloodlust. And to put in perspective, a dragon has about 3k health, so I could 3-4 shot a dragon. Wounding Strike. So pretty simple. I'm imagining this is also super short range, but it does a lot of damage, and then combine that with Bloodlust, you could probably one-shot a lot of enemies, which is really intriguing. Can't wait to unlock this at level 30. Firestorm. Now melee weapons to this point haven't been really flashy, and I'm really excited we get something that people will look at and go, oh, that is cool. You just flame down Ember Rain, and I can't wait to use it. It's available at level 45 and it costs 5 points. Tornado. I can't wait to use this one. I'm going to throw tornadoes at people and it's going to be amazing. It's available at level 60. It costs less than the other end tier spells for some reason, and I'm not sure why, but I'm not going to complain at not having to spend as much knowledge points on my spells. Now let's go on to gauntlets. Now gauntlets during the beta were useless. They were complete garbage. They did no damage. Because of the sort of erratic way the AI moved, it was quite difficult to keep the beam on them all the time unless you just ran away and had them chase you in a straight line. So first up is Purify. That's your basic beam weapon. It penetrates enemies, but it was only doing like 2 or 3 damage a tick at level 1, whereas a fireball, which could be spammed almost at the same speed, did about 26 to 27. We did find the only way to get decent damage out of it was to literally left click as quick as you could, because there was no cooldown, which is just ridiculous. Ice Storm. See, I bought this one, was quite excited to try it, but it summoned the tiniest ice storm I have ever seen. It's more like ice inconvenient cloud. It does no damage. It didn't freeze anyone for the whole time I tried using it, but I kind of gave up after the first 2 tries. Again, really lackluster. A bit disappointed with this, but there are spell rebalances coming in, so hopefully this gets changed. Necrosis. Now, this is one of those descriptions that again sounds horrifying. It's available at level 30, costs 4 points. Didn't get to use it sadly because I didn't reach that level, but I'm curious to see how it will be. Gift from the Gods. Now this kind of feels like the late game spell, but it's only your second from last. I'm really excited to try this one out. It sounds like it's going to have some really awesome effects, and the picture looks great. So last but not least is Conflagration. You summon down a meteor. Now we saw this one in the trailer and it did look amazing. It took out a whole building. And I really hope it doesn't do that much damage, because if people just come along and start one-shotting the castle I spent 4 weeks making, I'm gonna be really upset. So that's really it, folks. I'm really excited for what spells this game is going to bring in the future, and I can't wait to try out some of the later game content. I really hope I've got you guys hyped up for it too, and I hope to see you in the next beta test. And fingers crossed the rebalancing just goes a really long way into improving and refining the experience with the weapons. So now we're nearing the end of the video, and I just want to say a big thank you for everyone who supported me over the past week. I've really enjoyed making content for you guys, and I'm going to continue to do so as long as you guys want to see it. So if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. If you really want to see more, please subscribe. And with all that said, my name's Zagwitz. Thank you for stopping by, and I will see you next time.